Welcome to a moment of harmony on a Sunday moment. Please let me know if you cannot hear me. If someone tunes in, am struggling. Okay, I'm so tired. The other thing is, I am back on the phone. I got a new phone, so I'm not using my iPad right now. So, because I'm not using my iPad and I do not yet have a case for my phone, I'm concerned that the volume or the speaker is down in the apparatus that's holding the phone. So, please let me know. Can you hear me? If you're tuning in, I'm going to keep it going until someone comes on and they can talk to me. But until then, we're going to keep it moving. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our Sunday moment. Just wanted to get the background music down a little bit, get it back to the background. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, thank you, love. Thank you so much. Okay, I can be heard. So, welcome to a Sunday moment. Thank you so much for your mommy mercy and your grace. Your girl is tired, okay? Like I said, I got a new phone. So, just like I'm a millennial, I was up very late getting this whole situation figured out. Probably longer than it should have took me, as long as some other obstacles that were in the way. But I'm tired. But I am here because I'm also wired. Bars. I am here because we need our moment. There's just no excuse, really. There are many excuses for us not to have a moment. Yes, looking. Hey, Mr. Carter. Welcome, y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm super grateful to have you all here. Yes, new phone, new camera. Who this? You know what I'm saying? But welcome. I'm just joking. I just like to geek with my peoples. But okay, welcome to our Sunday moment. We're gonna get all into one of the moments that I've been waiting for. So again, I'm tired. Y'all know what happens to your girl. The voice is the first to go. The mind is next. When I need a break, okay, when it's time for me to chill it on out. And your girl is one that will take things I take it all the way to the brink, to the limit. So life has a way of telling me to calm it down. So today will be a calm Sunday. It will be a chill Sunday. But before we get into this chilled Sunday, we are going to have an extraordinary moment. So again, thank you for joining me. We're so excited. We're about 2 weeks. We have 2 weeks. We're in the second to the last week of our July series. Then we're going to do 2 August sessions. And then we'll be back on track for our monthly series as we go into September with 4 sessions. Okay? 4 courses in each framework of coursework. So we are still in July, even though August is here. Happy August. Leo season is in. My baby sister Amira just had a birthday. Happy birthday to Amira. There's a lot of birthdays coming in August. The lions coming out. Okay, the mains are getting shined up to get shown out. So happy birthday to you if you had a super birthday this weekend or this week, and birthday love to you all. But we're in August. But we are finishing up a July series again because we had the situation where we had to do a Moment of Harmony special and kind of push some of our regularly scheduled programming back a little bit. So we're still in I Know July in July. We'll finish that up next week. Finish up August, September fresh start. Y'all got it? Okay, y'all got it. So today I'm excited to get into this because we've been talking about the naysayers. We've been talking about the haters, the doubters, the people that come and throw a monkey wrench into your plan. And even sometimes that's you into your own plan. But we've been into that. We've been into it. We've been on it. And we've been saying, look, in the month of July, we telling people you lying. If you talking down about me, if you saying what I can't do, won't do, you're wrong. And we're going to go and get in this moment and in the moments to come in this series, practical solutions to be able to move ourselves away from a stagnant mindset of what we think we can't do, won't do, shouldn't do, and so on and so forth. So today's episode is entitled The Confusion of Control, because we're talking about what people tell us we shouldn't do. I cannot wait to get to this. I couldn't wait to get to this. I get so frustrated. Let me get close and comfortable, okay? I get so frustrated with because we live in such an oppressive society, the constraints that are put on us regularly, subliminally, financially, economically, physically, emotionally, um, racially. Like I get so frustrated with the restraints that are put on us because I know that spiritually we are limitless beings. I know that we were intended to be in this space to actualize, and I get so frustrated by the insurmountable amount of, I don't even want to say insurmountable because we're doing that today, but the overwhelming amount of oppression that comes in on us being able to fully actualize. It's like wherever you are in your life, whenever you're trying to become him, become her, grow this vision, and just be you, right? Just be and do you. That always seems to come with so many barriers, boundaries, traps and tricks. And today on A Moment of Harmony, we are moving away from all of that because it all starts in the mind, it grows in the heart, and it manifests in the will. And we are going to say no more of that. We're not getting caught up on the generational traps, the religious strongholds, the societal or political restrictions. Like, we are just going to be the divine beings that we were intended to be, and we are going to outknow and outgrow an entire system. That's why your moments are so important. Why it's important for us to share moments together, because we have to outgrow and outknow an entire system. But you're in the right place. You're in good hands. So let's get all up into that. I feel like I've done most of the July announcements. August. For those that do celebrate Black August, I know we're in Garvey season, so it's about to get crunk for that. Shout out for all of that. What is it? People that's getting into George Jackson, and they're doing their thing for Black August. Listen, love and light to the entire fight. And then I think that's it. I didn't want to move on. I feel like I sped past the introduction. But let's get into our moment. The reason we all came. Okay. The confusion of control. Now, I don't know why I still have this nagging feeling that I'm forgetting something. I don't know. But I'm gonna try to like ignore it, but I feel like there was something very important I wanted to say for everyone coming off of last week, coming off of the end of July, and I cannot. I know we had some really good full moon energy. I know there's been great transformations and transitions for many people in thoughts, in energy, in relationships, in connection, in opportunity. Let's keep going. You know what I'm saying? We're in the 8th month of, oh, that's something. Hold on. What is that? We're in the 8th month of, I'm just getting a napkin. We're in the 8th month of our year of 2026. We set a precedent, and we set different types of standards and alignments for what was to come for us. And we're continuously moving. There's a can't stop, won't stop energy about where we're going, and I want us to continue to be inspired. I know that again, there was something energetically I wanted to pay attention to, child. I got to get on it while it's on it. But there was something energetically I wanted to pull into from the end of July going into the beginning of August. I done lost it. But I will just say we're going to keep this thing moving. But I want to just encourage everyone that where you are is exactly where you were intended to be. For all of those that are feeling stuck or feeling motionless or feeling like they're pedaling backwards, we are in the perfect momentum for forward motion. We're moving this thing ahead as you were. okay? Stepping right around those obstacles and those sticky circumstances. And we're saying, as you were, move along throughout this year as you were. We are rounding down to the second part of the year. So, and then again, thank you for being on. Thank you to my love. Thank you to Mr. Carter. Thank you to all of my friends and family members that are coming in. Continue. I'm seeing y'all, and I love you. All right, now, the confusion of control. Whew, okay. Now, your girl is not just peace. How are you, Rashida? Nice to meet you and welcome. Welcome to a Moment of Harmony. The confusion of control. Now, I'm a natural born, I can't help it. I'm a natural born rebel. I have a tendency of my entire life. Give me one. Mommy Mercy. Sorry about that. Someone listened to their soundtrack while I'm live. Um, I'm a natural born rebel. I'm a natural born, what do they call, free spirit, wild child over here. I go with the flow of spirit and the way the energy feels within myself. That has been my entire portion, my entire life. So being able to get to the point of this communication about pushing back the energy that opposes your freedoms, your liberties, your growth, your development, your biggest dreams, your next steps, your wildest ambitions, your grandest endeavors. I cannot wait to sit here today and for us to be able to closely analyze what it is we are accepting as far as anchors go when we do accept a status quo of what we should or shouldn't be doing as individuals, as people, as spirit, and as light. And I just and I feel like this world of ours would be such a beautiful space. It would be such a more profound experience for us if we would really truly understand the confusion of control. Because again, when we get into capitalistic societal structures and structures of war and mayhem and trade and, ego, right? When we get into this patriarchal ego state of being, which is predominantly the way of operations in the society we live in, control is the name of the game. And then we start to feel like we can't do things. We begin to adopt, we begin to take on all of these clouds put on us, all of these restrictions put on us. And it's like, for me, it's like the dog that has been tied to the fence, or I have a better analogy. It's the child inside the hula hoop, right? We all seen the hula hoop circle. But when I think about us spiritually and what we're fully capable of and what the opposing force of the cultural structure has been on us and the effects of it, I think about the child that's in the hula hoop and standing in the circle and is asking permission to get out of the circle, right? And has all of these threats, like, people telling you, you cannot get out of this circle. If you get out of this circle, you're going to hell. If you get out of this circle, you're going to pay taxes. If you get out of this circle, you're going to, in some way, pay for not listening to all of us telling you to stay in the circle. The government, the controlled institutions, all of those things, the medical, another controlled institutions, the fear mongering, just you sit in this circle, because if you step out this circle, you're going to be, there's going to be a major consequence. But not really understanding the full consequence of staying inside of a circle when you are the circle, right? You are the circumference of existence, but you are staying in the center of a parameter when you're the circle. But for a long time, when I think about us culturally, when I think about us collectively, I think about us sitting inside this circle, wishing that we can step outside of it. But it's a circle that you can see on the ground around you. And we say, one day I wish I could step outside of this circle. I would really like to step outside of this circle. One of my biggest hopes is to one day just step outside this circle. We talk about that when we talk about financial freedom, when we talk about spirit. Whoop. Uh-oh. My system is falling apart. Okay. Let's see. I hope I'm back. My whole thing. So I haven't been using this little thing that holds my phone. And then this phone that I'm using is smaller in size than my old phone. So, whew, the thing let it go. It went flying. All right. We're all good. Everybody's back. Thank you, Mr. Carter. We talk about this when we talk about financial freedom, when we talk about spiritual independence, when we talk about appropriate identities, perspectives, like just really being able to have accurate looks at perspective of self, being able to see ourselves in a certain way. I'm just making sure we're still good because that was kind of crazy. All right. And you can still hear me, right, Mr. Carter? All right. Now, so we talk about stepping outside of that circle often, right? Often we're like, I just wish I could, thank you. I just wish I could step outside the circle. And for me, as a wellness practitioner, as a light worker, I just want to say, step outside the circle. I'm standing in this hula hoop. I'm pictured, you know what I'm saying? Follow me. The little girl, she's standing inside the hula hoop, and everyone, there are adults all around her telling her, do not step outside that circle. Whether that means, take this vaccine, be in this tax bracket, have this many children. This the control, external control that says, do not step outside of that circle or there will be consequences. And we feel like, thank you, and we feel like we're not living up to our fullest potential. We're full of anxiety. We're full of pessimism. We're angry. We're less connected to one another spiritually, socially, emotionally. We're suffering from the fear of stepping outside the circle. And in my case, what I feel like even further is being the circumference of existence that we are. The confusion of control that's a major conflict. I don't want to stand in this hula hoop. I have people telling me all I have to do is step outside, step off the grid, step outside of the matrix, move away from the restraints of reality. Do what works for you. And I will say that in this time of life, we've probably done that more in this time frame than ever, where we're just a little bit more comfortable with defying gender roles and defying racial stigmas and barriers and boundaries on things. We're probably a little bit better with it, but I want us to get better with it spiritually, right? I know that people will fight for their rights for biracial marriage or gender change or same-sex marriage. People will fight for their rights to step outside of the box nowadays. But are we spiritually? That's what we're going to do here today on A Moment of Harmony. We are not only fighting for our rights, we're aligning with our rights to be spiritually out of the confusion of control. So the next time that someone is telling you you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't start that business in this economy, oh, you should not get married ever again, you shouldn't have any children. I hear young women, 23, 25, being told they shouldn't have children because of the climate of the economy and because of the state of the administration. And I'm just like, wow, look at how much the shouldn'ts have begun to buck nature, have begun to buck, just evolution. We shouldn't continue to evolve. We shouldn't think any bigger than the front step. We just fear the intimidation and the blocks and barriers of shouldn't. Spiritually, we are fighting for our alignment today on a moment of harmony. So when it comes to the confusion of control, the first thing that I want to get into is this difference between don't and shouldn't. Don't and shouldn't. And a lot of times we see them as the same. This is why medical institutions, religious institutions, educational institutions, societal structures can tell us that we shouldn't do something and we don't do it. Or and or why they have the power when it comes to fear and force to have us really feel like the way that is being written out for us or rolled out for us is the way. It is the law. Now, let me first say two things as a disclaimer before I get into like the meat and bones of this moment. This moment is definitely not intended to make anyone feel shame or make anyone feel any type of way about the things that they believe in, right? So if you are one, you're just like, look, science and medication and technology are paramount over the spiritual side of yourself, that is your portion, right? I more so as harmony thing feel that all things are working together for the greater good of you. And if they are not working for the greater good of you, it's not for you. That's how I feel. But I don't want anyone to feel like she just got up here and she was just bashing all the stuff we believe in. I believe in when people say don't do this and don't do that. Now, I also want to give this other disclaimer. Control in the way that I will be using it throughout this moment is very different, and I'm going to break that down from order or from coordination or collaboration. It is control in the sense that you are not doing things in your life because there is a belief that has been imposed on you or adopted by you that you shouldn't be doing something for yourself. And you are now at the point where people say, oh, well, by August, you should have had this X, Y, and Z if you were going to be successful. Or you shouldn't try again at that business or what have you. So what I'm talking about is that control is a natural part of creation, okay? I'm not saying that control is all bad and it's all negative. What I am saying is in this society, just like most positive or constructive components to existence, the concept of control has been manipulated and it's been contrived or utilized in a negative way. When it comes to creation, control is nowhere near what we face here in what is more of an oppressive state of being. So, and I want to make that clear when we're making decisions or when we're listening to people telling us what we should and shouldn't be doing. So, I feel like control is necessary in the way that you pour water into a cup, right? It requires focus, it requires dedication, it requires strategy. So, but the control that requires the manipulation or the movement of something else is not the control that I believe is of a divine consistency. Okay, stay with me. I promise you I have some some analogies and things that's going to get us all on one, you know what I'm saying? Okay. So, when it comes to control, I believe that the only reason someone needs or heavily subscribes to external control is because there is a lack of self-control. So as a spiritual being, as a reflection of source energy, you already possess the amount of control, the amount of creativity, the amount of focus, the amount of discipline, all of the creative energies that are needed to make the life you see. You already possess those. When you become swayed or influenced in a disordered or dysfunctional environment, you then may begin to lose components of creation you innately are endowed with, because you are you are of source energy. So you are endowed with the ability to think for self, like our ancestors say, knowing thyself, to sankofa, to go back and remember, right? That's meditation. That's study. That's you have those faculties, right? You are a student of the world. You can study the trees, right? We have scientists and explorers. What are they called? It's gonna come to me in a minute. Dang it! But the people who dig up fossils and things like that, they have a name, and it will come to me. Paleontologists, right? Whew. I said, come on, why do you do this to me, brain? Paleontologists, we have people that use the earth as a textbook, that use the land, the sea, that study human beings, right? Psychologists and things like that. So you are completely endowed with all of the components of creation as source energy, as source energy yourself. When you come into a dysfunctional society that does not feed, nurture, or grow all of your natural innateness of divinity, because you live in a God complex society that is much more that would much rather have you see authority as superiority than for you to grow and enhance any superiority within self. You begin to, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So you begin to become weakened in some of those areas. This, all that I said, to get you to the place where we lack self-control. That's why most spiritual doctrines and most walks of faith or enlightenment, one of the first things they have you to work back on, peace, my love, is discipline, right? It's fasting. It's more consciousness over what you're eating or listening to, because again, you come into a weakened, dysfunctional structure, and it will weaken and disorganize your innate abilities to be at your divine level. So when you go through these spiritual walks, or when you go through these paths of enlightenment, you really are just remembering your innateness, right? No one is really like giving you something you've kind of never had, or no one is showing you the way per se, as they are enlightening or illuminating your way within yourself, through yourself, as a divine being of source energy. All right. So when we get to the point where we say, I've heard people say that if it's not for external boundaries, they don't have self-control, which then are normally, those are the people who cling to control externally the most, the very strict rule followers, or those that are dependent on a way outside of themselves or being, is because again, they lack a way within themselves. Not speaking negatively, not shaming. I just want to highlight, when you lack self-control, you need more external control. That's it, right? We bump up security in places where people don't know how to act, right? We have more policing in areas where morale, wellness, health are the lowest. So once you begin to get, I have people I know, I have friends that are saying like, if I didn't have these rules to go by, I don't know what I would be doing. Or people who need restrictions, like at the restaurant you get this plate of food and you can eat that. People who shouldn't go to a buffet, because when that signal in their mind says I'm full, they go past it. It's like I have no self-control, and therefore I need or require external regulation. I'm breaking that all the way down because when you have self-control, it minimizes the amount of external control needed or adhered to by you. So what I'm saying is, I don't need anyone to tell me to control my temper. I don't need rules that say, do not yell in this establishment. No stealing in this establishment. These are rules, right? These are the do's and don'ts. We need those when we lack self-control. I don't even know what the rules are or what the policy is in most establishments that I walk into or that I patronize. And I don't need to know them because I am self-governed. What is it called? Principle wise. I am self-regulated. Okay? And because I am self-regulated, I am less likely to even pay attention to what you are saying I should or shouldn't do. Now, I'm bringing all that up because when we get to, because I know a lot of times we like to say like, I wanted to do this, but the people in my family told me I shouldn't do it. Or I've never seen anybody in my family do that. At work, I was about to go for this promotion, but they were telling me that, if you don't have these credentials or if you haven't been here for this long, you shouldn't even go for that. You won't even qualify. And so on and so forth. The list goes on and on. Okay. There was a freeze because something made it through my do not disturb. Now, come on, new phone. Don't let him through. I need you to guard my moment. Okay, we're back. So we get to that place where it's like, okay, now, the more externally regulated we are, the less we'll be self-regulated, which is the more easily we'll be controlled. That's the point that I was getting to. So if you get to the point where you say like, look, if there weren't religious rules that told me to not be, to not covet or to not, the rules, right? To not harm or hurt or kill. There are people that would feel like they would not know what to do or they wouldn't be as good as people without the external order of the rules, the do's, the don'ts, the shoulds, and the shouldn'ts. There are people that say, if it wasn't for marriage, they might be outside. And my thing is that always is coming when we get to the point where we say what we don't do based on what others, society, or any external structure have told us we shouldn't. I want you to know that the first place there is a flaw is not in the naysayer. The first place I want you to check is your own self-control. Do you lack the tenacity, the focus, and the discipline for what it is you're asking for? If you do not lack those things, why do you believe you shouldn't have it? Why do you believe you shouldn't do it? So again, The need for external control is a real need in a societal structure as such. But it is only a real need because it has been imposed and infringed and institutionalized and indoctrinated in us as a need. It is not innately a need to be heavily regulated by external forces, not when you are source energy. Okay. Unless there is, like we talked about, interference. I want to get into these other points. So I feel like we got that and we're going to keep it moving, right? So, and I wanted to give that disclaimer. I'm not saying there isn't a place for order or control. I am just saying that we do need to, if we want to get around the strongholds and the pitfalls and the traps and the setbacks of our own growth and development, we're going to have to really begin to look closely at the external control and the lack and why it permeates or resonates with us in our personal realities the way that it does. Why are you so worried about what the external forces are saying you should and shouldn't do? Are you dependent on them because you have been weakened in the state of self-regulation? Now, so don't and shouldn't. We're going to break this down. When we hear don't do something, spiritual doctrines that say don't steal, as opposed to shouldn't. We shouldn't steal. As a collective, we are mixing them up, and we are literally not going into different realms and levels of self in existence because we have confused the don't and the shouldn't. I want to very quickly get very clear on the don't and the shouldn't, right? Don't is an exact, Mommy Mercy! Don't is an exact, so sorry. I hope y'all cannot hear them because I have screamed Mommy Mercy so many times, and whoever's listening to that device is not even caring what I'm saying. So don't is a direct order of operation that reduces harm and dysfunction. That's what don'ts are. Those are the only don'ts in your life. If it causes harm, if it causes dysfunction, it is the only don't, right? Shouldn't requires or it dictates situational discernment. Shouldn't. Don't if it causes harm and dysfunction. Give me 1 second, please. Beautiful. There's noise and there needs to not be noise. Help me out. Mommy Mercy again. Because what? Did you turn it up? Okay. Don't, if it causes harm and dysfunction, is the only don't you need to adhere to. Because we get that mixed up when the CDC or the CDA, FDA, all of them come down with don't leave the house without a mask, right? You shouldn't leave the house without a mask. Many of us in our endeavors and ambitions and our growths and evolution will hear them as the same. And we will not go and do the things that we were intended to do, or we will subscribe to a reality that doesn't serve us simply because it says you shouldn't, and we've begun to lose situational discernment. Now, if it causes harm or dysfunction, it is a don't. Situational discernment is the shouldn't. Well, they told me once you were a teen mom that you shouldn't even try to go to college because that baby gonna take up all your time. You shouldn't even try that. You trying to go to college as a 15, 16-year-old mom, is that going to cause harm and dysfunction? Or are you being asked, is this a suggestion that's asking you to have situational discernment? Shouldn't. Don't eat food that's been poisoned. Don't. That's the don't. If there's food that they put poison in, don't eat it. It's going to cause harm, right? You shouldn't eat food that was left out overnight. That's the shouldn't. We all come from homes with generational tales, fears, cycles, old wives' tales, just societal norms that shift with time that don't necessarily shift in the mind. Okay? Bars. So we have these spaces where it says, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't be intimate before you're married. You shouldn't, if you're married, you shouldn't get a divorce, right? These are all situational discernments. I'm well aware that they are actual religious rules and that they are actual guidelines of life. I'm talking spiritual right now, right? About the things we tell ourselves we shouldn't do and the way that we consult our reality based on societal structures, based on human institution, right? Don't eat food with poison. You shouldn't eat cold food. Shouldn't eat cold food is not a law that you should live by. Situational discernment. Well, I didn't heat my food up. Personally, I don't use a microwave. So I'm going to eat the food, and I prefer the cold food over the radiated food. Or the food with radiation. You know what I'm saying? Situational discernment. I'm pointing that out because so much of our lives and the examples of what we've seen and what has been impressed upon us, especially those of us of color, from years of oppression and laws and rules and segregation and expectation and dysfunctional perspective of us and who we are, we have begun to be married to what we shouldn't do. You shouldn't go to this school. You shouldn't take on this trade. You shouldn't even try to be as a woman, you shouldn't even run for president. Shouldn't and don't are two different things. But many of us are married to shouldn't and fear shouldn't and are tethered to shouldn't in the same way we do don't. We read it as a law written in stone and we just don't do it. If it causes harm and dysfunction, it is a don't. If it does not, it is situational awareness. Discernment, I'm sorry. It is situational discernment. It shouldn't is situational. Don't eat food off the floor. You will put some germs in your body, harm, dysfunction. You shouldn't eat food you didn't cook. Situational discernment. It sounds simple, I know. Harmony, why are you repeating this over and over? Because I cannot tell you how many people that I work with or that I know or that I'm connected to or just society as the social experiment that it is sometimes for me, that I just see us being stuck in what someone said we shouldn't do, what someone never did before, or what we believe are these externally imposed limitations on us. And there is only one definition for don't. The only thing I won't do is cause harm and dysfunction. I will not cause harm and I will not cause dysfunction. And those are the things that I don't do. Every single thing else in life requires my situational discernment. Don't socialize at work. Well, you may have a situation at work where there needs to be the air needs to be cleared out, and we might need to have a conversation that's not work related. That's a shouldn't. You shouldn't socialize at work. That's not a don't. But again, many of us have been so conditioned to hear the rule and not the root and go with the rule. And it is keeping us from loving again. It is keeping us from walking outside of social or religious or structural norms that do not necessarily serve your exact situation. I can recall having many of debates with pediatricians over the need for milk for children over a year old, cow milk for children in the early years of 1 to 7 and so forth. Give your children milk. Oh, they would battle, right? Once my babies came off of breast milk, or if they were doing formula, once they came off the bottle or the boob, okay, the pediatricians were pushing heavy. They need 100% whole milk right away. Put it in a sippy cup. Make sure they have this much. And I would say this is, if they do not drink this whole milk, does it cause harm or dysfunction? If they do drink this whole milk, which is calcifying their pineal gland as an individual of a melanated individual, or predominantly melanated, because now, we're finding some melanin here, predominantly melanated individual, is it going to cause them harm or dysfunction to do this thing you're telling me they should do? Children from the ages of 1 to 7 should. This is situational discernment. Because you're telling me they need calcium, which they are getting in leafy greens, which they are getting in almond milk. As a matter of fact, I've even brought in a container of, or pulled up a container of almond milk that has more calcium than cow's milk. But this was the argument. Pediatrician was ready, and I was readier, okay? Because these my babies, right? It's not books. They're not books I'm reading. They're babies I'm raising, right? So she says, no, more calcium. They need the calcium. Their bones need the calcium. They're growing at a rapid rate. Almond milk, more calcium than cow's milk. I pulled it up. This almond milk, I have more calcium than that. What else do they need? They need the vitamin D. Who needs the vitamin D? Who can't sit in the sun and absorb vitamin D? Who can't do that? Not my children. They can do it. Tons of it. They can sit out in the sun all day. They don't burn at all. They just, situational discernment will have us adopting or subscribing to or becoming indoctrinated into a reality that doesn't serve us. Now, I'm talking more societally structured, but more emotionally, more mentally, or more health, let's say wellness based, would be, again, you keeping on the generational curses of being a single mom, or a single dad, keeping on the generational curses of obesity, and unwellness, unhealthy behaviors, because people are saying, no, you should eat 3 meals a day. As soon as you want to go on a fast, or as soon as you want to do clean eating, no, you should eat what's the pyramid? You should subscribe to this pyramid of the wheats and the grains and the fats and the meats and the sugar, and this is what your diet should look like. You should have this many calories. I am saying there are those of us that think that because you haven't gotten your degree, you shouldn't try, or you shouldn't go to the next level because of your financial status or what have you. So again, keeping in mind that shouldn't is situational discernment. When you tell me I shouldn't do something, the first thing that I think is you're telling me that I should look closely into my situation and see if that fits. That's it. Don't drive drunk. It will cause harm and dysfunction. Don't jump out of a plane without a parachute. Don't. It will cause harm. But when you say shouldn't, you shouldn't eat before this clock in the morning. You shouldn't stay up past this time at night. You are letting me know. Or again, when we get to more of the family event, you shouldn't take someone back who you don't trust, or you shouldn't give people a second chance in marriages or relationships. Listen, the don't, if it causes harm and dysfunction, but the shouldn't is, this requires my situational discernment. Am I with someone that actually is growing and changing or not? You know what I'm saying? Is this something that I have contributed to, that my actions can also contribute to another result or not? Okay, now, don't and shouldn't. I just wanted us to be like super clear about that, because when I tell you that shouldn't is stopping us in our tracks, like, you shouldn't get out that circle. And I literally can step out the circle, but it's telling me, they told me I shouldn't. They told me I shouldn't try. They told me I shouldn't be, they told me I shouldn't even be thinking about it. It shouldn't be a priority or a focus for me. And therefore, I shut it down. No. Situational discernment. When the people or even yourself are saying, I shouldn't start all over. I shouldn't try again. I shouldn't give to this area of my life any energy or focus. I shouldn't save this money. I shouldn't move again. I shouldn't start this new career. Situational discernment. Now, when we get into harmony, if there isn't any type of control, we'll have disorder. That is another reason why we cling to control over conscious consulting, over going to consult our own consciousness, our own spiritual counsel. Because we feel like if there wasn't any control, then things would be out of order. I need things to be this way, that way. They have to be heavily regulated externally. They have to be heavily, things must be very much dictated upon me, or it's just a lack of control. It's so extreme, right? The polarity, right? It's just super extreme. I want to clear that up too, because that fear is keeping you in a hamster wheel of work, when you were designed to fly. It's keeping you in a hamster wheel of operation when you literally are born with wings that you don't use, because if you use the wings, You'll be less likely to subscribe to the God of government and to a structure of pure oppression. Okay. I be trying not to say too much, y'all, but I want it to be clear, but because I just want a moment of harmony to stay peaceful. You know what I'm saying? But I want us to be here. Let's be here with it. So, order and control are not the same thing. Okay? We're going to break them down real quick. Order is maintaining a civilized way of being via understanding and operation. Order in the court, maintaining a civilized way of being via understanding and operation. That's my parenting style. I am a very ordered parent. I don't like the chaos, but I am not a controlling parent. Control. Let's get into the control. And what I've learned in this society, why I spend so much time as a lone ranger, as the shout out to Bob MOW used to always say, you're a lone ranger. Why I spend so much time in solidarity and to myself is because of the person I am. I'm not one who is externally controlled or operated, but I am one of divine order and structure. And the confusion of that, I've learned, is that people feel like these things only operate in extremes. If you can't be controlled, you'll be all over the place. Anything can go. If things cannot be completely orchestrated, then you will do any old thing. And those are not at all. That's not at all how beingness works. Not for me. Now, when we get into the structural dynamics of the weakened innateness of self, yes, it's intended to be that way. That to fear you into our control, or else you will think it's going to be complete mayhem. Because no one is allowing self-regulation, no one is promoting morality and spirituality. So now you'll be immature or deficient in your innate areas of self-regulation and discipline. And so yes, you're gonna act a fool. That's gonna happen, but that was by design. Innately, if moralistic, spiritual enlightenment and ways of being were the dominant course of society, you wouldn't have to be up on a child constantly to say, don't beat up the elders. Don't beat up the elders. Don't beat up the elders. Don't. If you beat them, we will do X, Y, and Z. That has to only happen when the development of self has been stunted, when the actualization and understanding of appropriate operation has not been demonstrated, and therefore now I don't know what to do. So if you don't tell me what to do, I don't know what to do. That's what I'm saying. And that is the society, the structure of this place. Innately, that is not how we would operate. We would operate by understanding and operation. You see this land feeds us. Honor the land. You see the rain, how the rain comes down. This rain cleans our homes, it cleans our cars, it waters our fruits and vegetables. We honor the water. We don't throw things into the ground because it dishonors the water. It pollutes the water that we need. Understanding, right? That's order. That's not control. Order. You want understanding. Order is, you see this, we don't smoke and put toxins out into the area that we breathe because we need air to live. So we need it to be clean, okay? Don't pollute the air, okay? Order. It causes harm and dysfunction. Order. Don't pollute the air. Control is if you only can pollute, you can pollute the air in this area, you can sit over here and do it, smoking, non-smoking, control, right? You're still allowing mayhem, but it's controlled mayhem. It's not order. Those are different things. Now, Order is, or also control is, I'm going to make all these children go to this school. I'm going to put them all, I'm going to make it so that if you live in a certain neighborhood, you have to go to a certain school. That means they're more likely to hang with a certain crowd. They're more likely to be in a certain income bracket. And then I can tell them, if you do bad things, I'm going to lock you up. And then you do bad things. Control, not order, not the same. Okay, let's get out of here. Order is maintaining a civilized way of being via understanding and operation. That's me. That's how I run my house, right? We understand things. You have a demonstration of, and you are exposed to operation. And we maintain a civilized way of being based on what we understand and based on how we operate. But the control part of, nope, you have to go to this school, you have to wear this outfit, you have to, say this thing. Now, order, we still gonna be civilized, but I am not feeding you the words to say. Control. Control is forcing a constructed way of being using dominance, fear, and force. Control causes a selective benefit. Order causes an overall benefit. That's how we can remember that. Control causes a selective benefit. I want my kids to go to this school. If you live in this house, you go to this school because I went to this school and your grandmother went to this school and her mother went to this school. And so to live in my house, to get my help and my support, you will go to this school. Your child doesn't even thrive in the environment, any environment like the school you're talking about. It worked for you and it worked for your mother because you were astute scholars of academia. Your child is artistic, free-spirited, free will that will be restricted, broken, and mishandled in this institution. Control. Selective benefit. Who benefits? You benefit from being able to say that your child went here and your child did what you told him to do, as opposed to a collective benefit, which is order, which is you going somewhere to become the best version of yourself that works best for you, that allows you to be successful and happy, and for the family to grow more because you've expanded to your fullest potential. Control, order. Now, when I'm telling us to do away with the confusion of control, with people saying what we should and shouldn't do, I am wanting to break down order and control because people will keep saying, if we don't have control, things will be out of order. Two different things. People will continue to say, well, they said I shouldn't do it, so I didn't do it. Shouldn't is don't. Shouldn't is not don't. Those are two different things. Okay, I'm going to quickly get out this last point, okay? Shouldn't is suggestive. That's been the point of this whole moment. Shouldn't is suggestive. Should or shouldn't, someone telling you what you should or shouldn't do. You shouldn't, we've been doing this in this family for 25 years. You shouldn't do that other thing. Do what we do. And I'm not saying don't honor tradition, legacy. Listen, be careful what I'm saying. Honor what needs, honor life. But honoring life should never come at a dishonor to spiritual self. I appreciate what you're saying. These are suggestions. Thank you for your suggestion. I appreciate what you are saying. I appreciate the vision you see for me. Girl, that ain't never gonna happen. You shouldn't even have went up there. You ain't never gonna get that job. You shouldn't even go on a date with that man because you ain't gonna be. All he do is play around with girls. You shouldn't even talk to him. Should or shouldn't is not based on possibility. It is based on principle. Okay? When your mother and your grandmother say you shouldn't, when your grandfather and them say you shouldn't do this from this time to this, it is not based on possibility. They're not talking about what's possible for you or not possible for you, even if they frame it in that language. What they are talking about more so is the principles that they stand on. Now, here's the thing with principles. Principles are custom to a spiritual way of thinking and being. Whose principles? Whose standards? Whose benefit? Remember? There was a time when a woman, ma'am, really, all that, can you take that in the hallway? That's Grandma Mercy. Go on. There was a time when women, there was a time when it was legal for a man to beat his wife. So her should not leave because he was beating her, was written in law that he could. So the principle, if the principle says obey the law, be a law-abiding citizen, you are still within operation of your principle. Okay? There was a time when a woman could not own a bank account. Her husband had to own the bank account. She could not. So when your grandmother or your great grandmother say, look, you shouldn't, if he tells you, you can't have this, you can't have that, you shouldn't go against that because you need these things for him. In her time frame, the principle of obedience meant sacrifice and it meant survival. That's her principle. She was right. She was going to be homeless out in the street. She couldn't even get a job working anywhere. Her principle was right for where she was. Should or shouldn't is suggestive. It is not based on what's possible for you, because we keep holding on to what's possible. If I don't do this and should I do that, they told me not to. The CDA and the CDC and this morning they said we shouldn't, and I shouldn't eat these strawberries, and I shouldn't use this lotion, and I'm getting all of these things that shouldn't work. It is not indicative of the possibilities for you. It is the principles at hand. And there are times, the things with principles is that as we evolve, as we expand, so does the structural alignment of existence. And there will be times when something was necessary, a necessary stronghold, a necessary principle of a time in space. For a space, you shouldn't, you'll have maybe some of the older generations say you shouldn't ask. If your boss tells you something, you shouldn't go against that. You shouldn't ask them any questions, and you shouldn't, refute whatever your boss says. And that is, again, there is a time when you didn't have protections at work. Like now they say, equal opportunity employer. There was a time when those things weren't in place. Why they're here in place now. And on the principle of what your grandparents are saying, they are correct. There was a time when you were at-willed, and I could fire you for looking at me sideways. But that was in alignment with the policy and the laws of that time. You cannot fire me for being a woman. So you can no longer say, look, we don't want any more women here. You got to go. The principles, they change with the standards and the existence. The reason that I am magnifying that and reiterating that so much is because we take a very matter-of-fact approach to suggestive reasoning. We take a very matter-of-fact approach to suggestive reasoning. They said, I don't know if this is going to happen for me this year, because they said I shouldn't be talking to anybody unless, they say these things, as a man, if you don't make six figures, you shouldn't even be dating, right? We have these things out now, right? As a woman, if you shouldn't have a child with more than one person, and you shouldn't expect certain types of treatment if you are over a certain age, and foolishness. And we will stop giving our lives the watering that it desires, the chances, the risks, the vision that they truly desire, because of some external force that said it shouldn't be done by you. It shouldn't be yours. You shouldn't have it. It shouldn't be a reality for you. And you have subscribed to it. You have taken a matter of fact. So after that, I stopped going to class. After that, I deleted my dating app. After that, after somebody told you shouldn't. They said, you were too old, or you were too young, or you were too broke, or you were too inexperienced, and you just stopped. We are telling the naysayers and the doubters and the haters, I know you lying. In July, we're not in July anymore, but you're lying. You lying if you're talking about me, what I shouldn't be doing, or we shouldn't have unconventional ways of marriage. We shouldn't try certain different, aspects of raising. Oh, you shouldn't do gentle parenting, and you shouldn't do abuse. Listen, situational discernment, my love. Have that. Who is telling you what they shouldn't do? Discern. What is the root of their rule? Where are the rules coming from? The root of the rules. We've learned so much about biblical history, and I'm going to only the Bible, not to single it out, but just because it comes to mind the quickest. But we've had people talk about language and diction and meaning and understanding over time, but we will still say what you shouldn't do today based on the root of the rules, right? So I've heard people say that the term virgin, like Mary was a virgin, and that in the times that the Jameses were writing the Bibles, in those times, that the word virgin meant something different than the way we use the word virgin today. Because they would say, oh, how is she a virgin? And she got pregnant with, an immaculate conception and all of these things, right? So not only are we talking about symbolism and allegory, but we're also talking about the roots of the rule. We're talking about where it came from, of this Virgin Mary and the sacredness. If we do not keep in mind that shouldn'ts are suggestive in our endeavors and our goals, and then I want to get out of here. We've all seen where, for example, they say, oh, you shouldn't have a baby with more than one man, because you'll have a hard life and you'll have, you'll struggle. You shouldn't have a lot of children. Well, now we have, look at Kimora Lee Simmons, right? Not that she's the standard, but I'm saying everywhere in this life, in reality, we will find an exception, or we will find an example of why shouldn'ts are suggestive and why situational discernment should be more prevalent. She has 4 different fathers. Again, not advocating, listen, but the shame, the demeaning labels that come with what you should and shouldn't do, they aren't yours to own. But rich, wealthy, all of the children in private schools, all of the home, like all of the standards of success, at least here societally, she's reached all of them, operating in the shouldn'ts. We've all seen, for those who are more from the religious spectrum, we've all seen where, They say, don't do bad if you want God to use you. Well, we've seen, we're listening to the stories in the Bible that God will use, right? A criminal, a thief, someone, a Jezebel, right? Will use. So shouldn't is suggestive, okay? When we get to and I want to get out of here, we come from a society where if we don't understand it, we ban it. That's it. I don't get it. And that's not the cultural way for us in the diaspora. It really is more so the way of, it's a conquering mindset. I have to conquer it or I have to destroy it. And so much of what we're going through requires evolution and process. You are not going to conquer all your dreams. You are not, in a small time frame. I'm not going to say you're not going to conquer. You're not going to conquer everything right away. You're not going to see it and be it. You're not going to plant the seed and grow the tree tomorrow. So, but when you come from a mindset of, if I can't conquer it, I have to destroy it, which is not your way, right? Not in GA too. If you, shout out to PLM, if you don't do that, you get stuck in this space. I don't understand it, so I'll ban it. Let people misunderstand your mission. Let people misunderstand your standards. Let people misunderstand your new chapter. Let yourself be misunderstood in your new direction. Let your new mindset, your new relationship, your new journey, let it be misinterpreted. Because what people don't understand, they will ban, and let them misunderstand it. But do not let them take away from you. In the mind frame of which you should and shouldn't. You shouldn't get married at 50. You shouldn't have a baby at 40. You shouldn't even try to get a job if you're an ex-con and you have a horrible record. Don't even go looking up in corporate. Listen. People don't understand. And like me and the bestie like to say, it wasn't a conference call. Don't worry about it. But I want us to be able to sit within ourselves and to debunk the myths. Debunk it. Don't and shouldn't are not the same thing. Order and control are not the same thing. You're being stuck inside of ideologies that are not yours, that don't work for you. But what does work for you is your growth, your prosperity, your blessings, and your expansion. And here's the thing. If what helps you grow and become your greatest self are certain ideologies, religions, or practices, do you, boo? Harmony is not saying that at all. All I am saying is that I want us to look more closely at the things we are being told we shouldn't do. Okay? There was a time when when there would be Bible verses used to tell slaves they shouldn't resist their masters. And in a similar vein, there are people in your life telling you what you shouldn't do, and they are using history, and they are using medical and technological sciences, and they are using rituals and religions, and they are using practices as a reason for why you shouldn't do, and there's a root reason, and then you also are the circumference of existence, and you, my love, have to be able to have situational discernment on stepping outside that circle for yourself. Just don't let people tell you have to sit inside of a circle that don't work for you. It doesn't work for you. And that's the whole point of this moment. Love and light to the entire fight. And then all of you that practice what you practice, love and respect to you. If it makes you a better person, I say go for it. But if it's stopping you and it's stalling you, I say look into that. Why? Why are you subscribing? Why are you believing? Why are you strong holding onto something that is not holding you up? It is holding you back. It is holding you down. Let it go. All right. Next time somebody tell you what you shouldn't be doing. What they used to say, I ain't got to do nothing but stay. Y'all know what I was about to say. I love y'all. I'll see you next. This is a long moment. Oh my goodness. I'll see you next week for another moment of harmony. Go on and take really good care of yourself. Do some good things, child. We so close to back to school. Love on yourself. Get your summer in while you still can. And then go on out your way. After you've done all some good things for you, listen to yourself, been true to you. Listen, you did just say that. You did just say that. Mr. Carter in the chat. Going to take really good care of someone else. I love you all so much. I'll see you next week. Your girl's about to get some rest today. I'm going to take good care of myself today. And then I'm going to go take really good care of someone else. That's what I need you to do. I love you, and I'll see you next week for another moment of harmony. Oops. I can get out of here.